What's up, guys? Owen here, back with another Ham Productions video. Today, we're going to be pretty much putting a tier list about every single team's day one in free agency and counting a bit of day two, but mainly day one. Pretty much rating it from amazing to horrible. Rating what moves it did, rating the re-signings. Yeah. So if you liked the video, make sure you like, subscribe button. Let's get started. First team on the tier list, we're going to do the Buffalo Bills. We're going to go by the division. First division we're going to do is AFC East. So Buffalo Bills are up, and I would rate it an alright. Alright. I mean, nothing crazy, but we re-signed Daquan Jones, we re-signed Deion Dawkins, got a backup quarterback, got Epinesa back, which is pretty big, and Taylor Rapp should be a decent safety, and Cam Lewis is a depth piece. So overall, it's alright. Nothing crazy. We didn't lose that many great players. The worst player we probably lost was Leonard Floyd, but he was really inconsistent. He had one sack in the final 8 games. So yeah, it's a perfect, middle of the pack. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins, and I gotta go with pretty bad here. It's not about like who they signed because they signed some solid guys, even though their center choice is a bit odd because he was part of the worst O line in football. They lost tons of guys. They lost Christian Wilkins. They lost Van Ginkel. Those are big losses. They had to cut Baker and Xavier Howard. They got a replacement, but it's a huge loss. They did get Shaq Barrett, which I thought was a really good signing. Overall, not amazing because he still had some holes to fill and some like leadership roles to fill as well. But overall, I would give it a pretty bad. Next up, we have the Patriots, and I want to remind you guys this is just day one. There are still a lot of free agents able to be signed, and honestly, some of these signings, they could have declined to be signed. They haven't actually signed, pen and paper yet. But we're just rating the day one for a free agency tier list. So next up, we have the Patriots. I'll give it an alright. Nothing crazy, but they retained a lot of guys, as you can see. Hunter Henry, Mike Onwanu, I think. Taki, who's a new guy. Kyle Duggar, Kendrick Bourne, Jalen Rager. They got a backup quarterback and maybe like a few weeks starting if they need to, develop a quarterback, which I'm guessing they will. And yeah, so overall, I'd rate it an alright. Nothing crazy, but nothing too bad. Next up, we have the Jets, and I'm giving it an alright. And, Miami fans might be mad at me for saying it's pretty bad because the Jets really didn't do that much, but they didn't lose any crazy, studs on their team. They got a backup quarterback in case Rodgers, gets hurt again, and Tyrod Taylor is definitely capable. They got an offensive lineman. They got their kicker back, but they didn't lose anyone crazy. So it's not a huge loss like the Miami Dolphins just went through. So overall, just like the Patriots and the Bills, re-signed a few key guys, but overall, it's all right. It's not bad, but it's not great. Next up, we have the NFC North and Baltimore Ravens. Got Derrick Henry, Nelson Aguilar, and Justin Madubuike. This is going in straight and amazing. They retained an amazing defensive lineman on a 4-year, $98 million contract, and they got one of the best running backs in football still at, relatively old age for running backs. And yeah, overall, it's got to go in amazing. Really good so far. And again, only day one, and they still, made some decent moves. I think they're going to get another receiver because they won't have OBJ, and it's looking like, Zay Flowers would be number one, and then Rashad Bateman, and then Nelson Aguilar, as you can see. So I think they have a little bit more work to do. But overall, it's been a really good free agency for Baltimore so far. Next up, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. And I'm putting it in pretty good. They got Zach Moss, who I think is really underrated and will do pretty well with the Cincinnati O line. They re-signed or received the non-exclusive franchise tag for T. Higgins, even though he requested a trade. I don't think he's getting traded, but he requested one. They got Mike Gesicki, they got Drew Sample, they got Cody Ford, and then they got Geno Stone. Overall, I'll say pretty good. Zach Moss and Geno Stone signings, I think, are pretty good because those guys have really good value, and you don't have to pay them a lot, like 2-year $8 million, 2-year $15 million. So overall, pretty good. It's better than these three. It's definitely better than the Dolphins, but it's not as good as the Ravens. So pretty good. If I've already given it, a letter, I would probably say around an A tier so far for the Bengals. And again, it's only day one, so I think they'll still have some moves to do. Next up, we have the Cleveland Browns, and I'm gonna give it an alright. Nothing crazy. They didn't include I think they re-signed Hurst. No, maybe that might be another team. Either way, overall pretty solid. I'll put it in pretty good actually because they re-signed Zarius Smith. They got Jerry Jeudy. They gotten their offensive guard back, and they got Naheem Hines. Overall, I'd rate him pretty good so far, and I think they still have some moves to do. I think they also signed Jameis Winston today too because this site for some reason isn't updated, even though it's the official NFL one. But again, overall, I think it's pretty good. I think the entire AFC North has done pretty well this, free agency, at least for the first day. Next up, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I'm putting it right into amazing. Like, you got a quarterback. Like, that's exactly what they needed to do. I mean, If they would have stuck with Kenny Pickett, they would have gone nowhere. They're like, you know what? We're gonna actually make a change. We're gonna go get Russell Wilson, 1 year vet minimum. And you know what? What's the worst that can happen? He lost 1 year, he doesn't do well. You don't pay him really any money. Like 1 million's not a lot of money. And then next year you draft a quarterback maybe, or sign one in free agency because you're not spending 40 million a year on a quarterback like most teams are nowadays. So that's going straight amazing because it's really exactly what they needed, and they're probably not done in free agency. So again, Steelers, good job. You finally made an improvement to your franchise. And honestly, I think it's going to be cool to see Russ in the Steelers. Next up, we have the Houston Texans, and they have a long list of players that they signed. In my opinion, going straight and amazing. They got Dalton Schultz back. That was probably their biggest move out of all of these. Well, I should say maybe second biggest because they got Joe Mixon from the Bengals, a really good running back. They got Danico Autry, Aziz Al-Shaair, I think. Three, three cornerbacks, and they re-signed Kyrie Fairbairn. Let me scroll down a little bit. There you go. Amy Fairbairn. This is they're building right now. This is amazing what they're doing right now. They were a playoff team. They won a playoff game last year, and they had tons of cap space. And look what they're doing, building their defense up for D'Amico Ryans. Overall, amazing. It's ridiculous. Honestly, they're gonna be dangerous for years to come because of just what they're doing right now, and what they did in the field last year. Next up, we have the Colts, and I might just be feeling, generous today. That's going straight and amazing. You got Zaire Franklin, a Syracuse guy. I'm a big Syracuse football fan. He's an amazing player. He got a 3-year deal. Tyquan Lewis, he got re-signed. Michael Pittman, he got re-signed. Just an amazing, and they re-signed their punter. Or yeah, they re-signed their punter. I thought maybe he signed. No, you re-signed. Just amazing. Honestly, these teams are doing so well in free agency this year. These are some amazing moves, especially the first three, because punters, it's still nice, but you know what I mean. Again, great moves from the Colts, and honestly, I think the AFC South is rebuilding itself again to be one of the best divisions in the NFL. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars, and again, I might be feeling a little bit generous today, but you're going straight and amazing. All three AFC South teams have done so well in free agency. They got a backup quarterback, Mac Jones. That's not a big deal. Let's move past that. They got Gabe Davis. Not a huge fan of the deal, but overall, you're getting a nice deep threat wide receiver. And honestly, he still has the potential to be really good. And then you got, some O linemen to protect Trevor Lawrence. That's exactly what you need to do. Your quarterback just got hurt last year, many times. What do? You sign 3 O linemen, and Mitch Morse, who works great with Josh Allen, and you also franchise tag Josh Allen. Not that Josh Allen, but you know what I mean. Quarterback Josh Allen. Then you get Darnell Savage. In my opinion, that's an amazing first day or first week, you could say, because some of these moves were made before Monday. But again, overall, really solid from the Jaguars. And again, this AFC South is just lighting up free agency right now. Next up, we have the Titans, and I would like to put all 4 in amazing. This one's gonna have to go in pretty good. It's not as good as the all 5 up here. But they did make some quality signings. They got Cushenberry back. They got Pollard. They got Kenneth Murray. They got Chidobe Awuzie. And they got a long snapper. Not that crazy. But again, still solid signings. And I think Tennessee, give them a few more years. I never thought they were really that good anyway when they got the 1 seed that 1 year or kept making the playoffs. I never really thought they were that good. And you've seen that obviously in the past few years. And, they got rid of pretty much their franchise player, which was Derrick Henry. So they're going through a bit of a rebuild right now. I think this is a good start. They need to build back the O-line. They need to get a running back. And overall, I would say pretty solid right now. It's going in pretty good. Next up, we're going to AFC West and the Denver Broncos. And as much as I want to put this in all right, it's got to go in pretty bad. Because you let your quarterback, who has an $80-something million cap space, sign for the veteran minimum, which is 1.12 million or something like that. That alone puts you in pretty bad. The signings are all right. If they didn't lose Russ, and these signings would be all right. I mean, they got a fullback, 2 safeties, a kicker, and a D lineman. Nothing crazy, but just the fact that they lost Russ, they weren't able to get Kirk. I don't think they weren't able to get anyone really bad, really. Again, there's still some time, but they weren't even able to get Sam Darnold or anything. Not a crazy. Not again. Sam Darnold isn't the answer. They'll most likely draft someone, but overall, just the free agency as a whole for the Broncos, not great. Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs, and in my opinion, going straight to amazing because they got Chris Jones back, 5 years, insane. I think that's a perfect move. They got L'Jarius Sneed, they got Drew Tranquil, and they got Irv Smith. They're really just reloading for another year. They don't even have to sign anybody. And I think they can still sign some people. Curtis Samuel, Hollywood Brown are still there. Overall, tons of stuff to look forward to for the Chiefs next year. Nothing crazy. Not signing new players. I mean, their only new player that they signed. Oh, also they signed Matt Araiza too, which was a pretty good pick. Um, but Irv Smith. But overall, like signing these three guys in defense back, absolutely huge. So yeah, I would give it an amazing just in the fact alone that they got all three of those guys back. Next up, we have the Raiders, and I don't know what they're doing, but I like it. Where are the Raiders? I'm gonna put in pretty good. I don't love the Gardner Minshew signing of 2 years, 25 million, but I love the Christian Wilkins signing. That's a great signing. Maybe a little too much, but the dude's an absolute stud. You re-sign your center, you re-sign your running back. Minshew, maybe they're trying to do like a Anthony Richardson, Gardner Minshew thing, like the Colts did last year. Maybe do a little bit of quarterback competition. Worst case scenario, Gardner wins, and then your quarterback that you just drafted or like maybe second round will get to learn behind a pretty solid guy like Minshew. It's already been pretty good. Again, I still don't understand the signing that much because that's 2 year, 25 million, kind of crazy. But overall, I'd rate him pretty good. Next up, we have the Chargers, and it's all right. Alohi Gillen was a pretty good signing. I wish the Bills could have got him because that's such a cheap price. It is a stud. Other than that, Gus Edwards, Will Disley. I think they're putting a lot into the draft this year. Um, I don't know what they're gonna do. I think they should have signed a no lineman, but I'm not the general manager, so I'm gonna let them do their thing. But overall, it's all right. Next up, we have the NFC East. First NFC team is the Dallas Cowboys, and re-signed the long snapper. Like horrible. Absolutely horrible. Nothing against a long snapper. It's horrible. You just come off a year where you get beaten up by a really young team in the wild card as the 2 seed, and first day free agency with tons of good players on the board. You don't even do anything till today, like till Tuesday or Wednesday. Today's Tuesday. So what am I saying? Till Tuesday, and you resign a long snap going straight into horrible. Like it's like the worst move you could possibly do as a team that needs to get better. Next up with New York Giants, and I just put the Cowboys in horrible, and I put the Giants in amazing. I got Brian Burns for a second and a fifth. I mean, I had to pay him. They had the cap space for it. They got Singletary, familiar with Brian Daboll, familiar probably with the offense, I'm guessing, or at least with the head coach, which is good. They got Jermaine Elmuna. I'm not gonna pronounce that. Again, getting an offensive line help, exactly what you need. Got John Runyon, great signing. They're cooking right now, the Giants, and hopefully they do well because it was fun seeing them do good in the season. But it's not fun seeing them be bad. But yeah, I'm really excited for the future of the Giants because they look really good. Next up, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, and this might be the easiest amazing of the day. Bryce Huff, amazing signing, so underrated. Amazing signing. And then they got Saquon. Saquon behind the Eagles O line. Look how good Miles Sanders and DeAndre Swift did. Look how good Saquon can do. They re-signed their offensive guard. They got, 2 new edge players. Or not 2 new. They re-signed Brandon Graham. And they got another linebacker, Julian Okora. And, Albert, I think his name is Albert O. That's his nickname. I was gonna call him that. 1 year extension. Amazing signings for the Eagles. And not a good look for the Cowboys because I think everyone in their division is doing really well in free agency except for them. This might seem crazy. Next up, we got the Washington Commanders. I might have to put them in amazing, and the only team not in amazing is the Cowboys, who have a horrible. But you get Nick Allegretti, such a tough player, fighting through the injury in the Super Bowl. He held up well. Amazing signing. I got Tyler Biadasz, I think. Amazing signing. Dorrance Armstrong, pretty good signing. Frankie Louvu, underrated player, good signing. Zach Ertz, alright signing. Again, I think get like a veteran presence on your young team or on your new team. Good idea. Good. Austin Eckler, pretty good. He didn't do well last year, but again, Austin Eckler is Austin Eckler. He can be really good at times. And then they got Marcus Mariota, not great, and they got Brandon McManus. So overall, I have to do an amazing because they made some moves. They got O line help, desperately what they needed. Stole a few players from the Cowboys. And honestly, I think you're doing a really good job of free agency. And I'm sorry, Cowboys fans, but your team might be doing the worst in free agency. Next up, we've got the NFC North, and we have the Chicago Bears. And I would rate them pretty good. They got Swift, they got Bates, they got Jalen Johnson, they got Kevin Byard. Overall, pretty good. Um, I don't know if I love the Kevin Byard move because I don't know if he's that good after what he showed on the Eagles last year. But I like DeAndre Swift. I like Ryan Bates. I like Jalen Johnson. Actually, I'm gonna put this in amazing. It's pretty good. Too many teams in amazing at this point, but a lot of teams are having a really good free agency so far. And honestly, I think the Bears are having one of the best. Again, still so much work to do. They still have tons of cap space. Overall, I think this is a really, really good move for the Bears and a really good right step in the right direction. Alright, guys, before I do one for the Lions, I just gotta fill you in with the stuff I just, missed. Patrick Queen signing with the Steelers. They're doing amazing. Shelby Harris to the Browns. You know what? What's that? I'm moving him up to amazing. Shelby Harris, good job. And then the Giants signed, Drew Lock to compete with Tommy Cutlets as their backup, apparently. Um, whatever. But yeah, insane. Um, that's insane. Patrick Queen going to his rival Steelers. Yeah, easily an amazing tier for the Steelers. Steelers might be having one of the best free agencies so far. They've only signed 2 players. All right, but let's get to the Lions. Um, Overall, Graham Glasgow, Marcus Davenport. I'm gonna actually go in amazing because they also just got a new. I think they got a quarterback from the Raiders. Don't know how to pronounce his name, and I don't think. Yeah, overall, I think they're always doing amazing in literally everything. So yeah, Detroit Lions doing really well. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers, and honestly, I feel like I'm putting too many in amazing, but I gotta put them in amazing. They are doing so well. They got Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. Like, those are really good moves. And they had to cut. Actually, I'm gonna move down to pretty good because they had to cut Aaron Jones, and he signed with the division rival. So I'm gonna take a point off because not that good for them losing their starting running back to a division rival. But overall, I think they're doing really well in free agency. Next up, we have the Vikings, and I'll do it in. I might have to do. I don't know. Um, I'll do it in pretty good. They lost Kirk. That sucks. Well, actually, now that I say that, I might have to put it in all right. They got some decent signings, but you know, losing Kirk's huge, and they got Sam Darnold. They got Aaron Jones though, and I like the Jonathan Grenard signing and the Andrew Van Ginkel and the Blake Cashman. Holy cow, they had actually really good. I'll do put in really good, but the loss of Kirk Cousins will hurt them severely. So I would honestly put this as amazing if they didn't lose Kirk Cousins, but they did. So overall, I'll put it in pretty good. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons, and right amazing. I mean, they got their guy. They got their quarterback. Maybe a bit of an overpay. 4 year, 180 million. Cousins receives 100 million guaranteed, including 90 million in 2024 and 2025, another 10 million in 26. So maybe a bit of an overpay, but still they got their quarterback for the foreseeable future. And honestly, I love the move. And they also got Darnell Mooney and their long snapper, which not crazy moves, but I like Darnell Mooney. So yeah, overall, I'm putting this in amazing. Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers, and I'm tempted to put them in amazing, but I'll put them in pretty good. They got exactly what they needed: offensive guards. They need a lineman. They did it. They re-signed, Troy Hill and their long snapper. So many teams are getting their long snappers back. But overall, lost Frankie Louvu, and I think that will hurt him a bit. And Brian Burns going away for only a second in the fifth. I think that deserves a pretty good. Next up, we have the New Orleans Saints, and I'll put them in an alright. It's pretty much what I expected them to do. They don't have much cap space. Or at least they entered free agency with minus tons of cap space. They re-signed to their defensive players. They ain't getting anyone really new yet. Again, there's still tons of time left in free agency. I'm just rating day one. But overall, not amazing. Well, actually, it's not bad. It'll go in pretty good because they retain defensive players, and alright is I feel like that gets a bad rap. Yeah, overall pretty good. Next up, we have the Bucks, and only 5 teams to go to rate. And honestly, I'm gonna have to put them in pretty good. I like the Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield re-signing. I feel like they might have paid a little too much for Mike Evans, and I think they might have paid again a little too much in Baker. But overall, I think it's really good. But this Antoine Winfield getting the non-exclusive franchise tag hurts it a little bit just because, you don't you're not, fully guaranteed him to come back. They can work out a trade. And you're not giving any extension, which is what he wants. He wants money and not the franchise tag. So overall, pretty good. Next up, we have the Cardinals, and I would put it in pretty good. We got Tristan Colin re-signing, decent. Justin Jones, Mac Wilson, Sean Murphy Bunting. Overall, pretty solid moves by the Cardinals. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams, and I'm gonna put this also in pretty good. I think they did a pretty good job. They got Jackson, good signing. They re-signed Kevin Dotson, and they re-signed Demarcus Robinson. They got Colby Parkinson for a 3-year deal, and they also got Darius Williams on a 3-year, $22 million deal. So overall, again, rated right next to the Cardinals, pretty good. I think they did a pretty good job in day one. Again, still tons of moves to be made for that team. So I think they can turn themselves into real contenders. Next up, we have the San Francisco 49ers, and put it in all right, because it's nothing crazy. They got Yetur Gross-Matos, 2-year, $18 million deal. Decent. Leonard Floyd, really inconsistent, but at times can show flashes, being really good. What I mean by inconsistent is, in the final 8 games, he had 1 sack, including playoffs. And, I feel like I'm fine with losing him, because despite him having 10.5 sacks, again, that's a huge loss. Not being able to show up in the playoffs as defensive end is, what we need defensive end to do. And he didn't show that. He could show up when it really mattered the most. So overall, I'm giving it all right, because these signings aren't, eye-popping. Next up, we have Seattle Seahawks, and they got Noah Fant and Leonard Williams re-signed. Overall, I like it. I think they're both really. I think Noah Fant's not in the same skill set at his position that Leonard Williams is, but again, overall, I would rate this at a pretty good, being able to retain 2 players. What's up, guys? Ham Productions here. Thank you for watching the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Just to give a bit of details on the contract of Patrick Queen, that I said in the middle of the video, because when I started recording, this was not, any news. This was not on the site. This was, I didn't know about this. But to give you a bit of info, Ravens free agent, I'm reading from Adam Schefter's, thing. Ravens free agent, linebacker Patrick Queen told Marcus Spears that he plans to sign a 3-year, $41 million contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Amazing move of the Steelers. That's all I gotta say. They're gonna be really good, I think, next year. Just based on the moves they've made, they look really good. Yeah, again, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like, subscribe button, and I'll see you tomorrow.